often mindfulness is seen to be at odds with profit. I got to make money so then I can have time to someday be mindful, which is someday I'll have peace, joy, and happiness. And my experience is that someday doesn't come unless we create it.
Welcome to Multifamily Insights. I'm your host, John Casman, and I want to thank you for joining us for another great episode. If you're enjoying this show, do me one quick favor and leave us that rating and review. We want to hear what you love about the show, but also give us any feedback that can make it work harder for your investing goals. Now, we've got a great show today. We're going to be talking to Dr. Eric Holsapple. Dr. Eric Holsapple is a successful developer and entrepreneur with LC Real Estate Group in Loveland, Colorado. Now, he has used mindfulness to transform his life and his business while helping others do the same. Now, Eric has a PhD in economics, has been a real estate CEO and developer for nearly 40 years, and has lectured in real estate at Colorado State University for over 20 years. Let's welcome to the show, Dr. Eric Holsapple.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Hey, Eric, I went over your bio at a very high level. Why don't you take 2 minutes and fill in some of those gaps?
Yeah, just basically I've been in real estate my whole professional career, since MBA. I love real estate. I was always really, really good at it, kind of as a CEO in my 20s. But really had to search for meaning, happiness, and health in it. Not success in most outward things, but success inwardly I had to really work on. So after I was in my 30s, that's what I went to work on. It's just, how to be successful with the material world, but also how to feel well, how to feel like I was making a difference, how to make it, how to fulfill my purpose, how to be more mindful is what I worked on. I taught at university for a number of years, and I just loved the connections that I got with students. And I just started seeing bigger difference through mindfulness in myself and my company. And I left the university and launched Living in the Gap, where we train leaders to be more mindful in their business, not to be less successful, not to do less, but to make a bigger purpose and make a bigger difference along the way, and to have less stress and to be happier. So.
You mentioned one, you were very successful in real estate, started out in that, became a CEO at, while you're in your 20s. So really quick success, but really need to focus on mindfulness. What made you realize that even though you were having this success, something was still missing in maybe who you were as a whole person?
Yeah, I would say, that job required me to travel extensively. I worked for an Australian subsidiary. They were coming in the 80s and, going to the moon. So when I traveled, I was a walking boarding pass. And I'll never forget getting on a scale in my early 30s and just having a shock. I've traveled so much, I wasn't going to gyms. I hadn't worked out in years. I was drinking too much, eating too much. So, I had the title and the six-figure salary and the apartment on the harbor in Boston and all this stuff. But I looked on the scale and say, hey, you got to make some changes. You're not going to be around very long. And I started down that path. And my first entry was yoga into mindfulness, later found meditation. It just made a huge, huge difference for me. Less stress, less anger, better health. I lost 40 pounds, got myself back into sports, which I was always in, but I had gotten away from. Just work, work, work. I was a dull boy. So,
well, I think your story is probably resonating with a lot of people, right? We're talking about busy professionals, people out there who are grinding away, trying to make this thing happen, whether it's in their day job, their corporate careers, real estate investing. I know a lot of folks I talk to are, they're working 12-hour days, if not way beyond 8 hours, right? So they're busting their tail trying to make a big difference in their life. And it can have an impact, right? It can have a negative impact where
huge.
You look at, where you're at and health-wise, family-wise, relationships. So talk to us about that a little bit. And what does it mean when you say living in the gap? I know it's your company name, but why'd you pick that name? And what does that mean and represent to you?
I'll just tail on what you said a little bit. And the other thing that happens to us, not only are we working the 10, 12 hours a day at work, we walk into the house, we're depleted, we're exhausted. So that part of our life isn't getting any of the energy that, and that's why we work, for our families and our health and, to be happy. So living in the gap it talks about the gap that is, we have some 6,000 thoughts a day. Stress stress and anxiety resides in what we think about things. Peace and joy and happiness reside in the gaps in thought, when thoughts slow down a little bit and there's a little space. So living in the gap just means being able to, have more joy and happiness in your life. Not be thinking about everything, but just be in your body doing, and being a little more intentional about what we do. I hear a lot in the business world that say, God, mindfulness, that's great someday. That's woo woo though. That's too slow, too soft for business. And I say, you know what I see out there is, divided, distracted. We can't move the agenda along on key issues. That's woo woo to me. Mindfulness, if I boiled it down to one word, is focus. To be able to focus on what I choose to focus on. So at work, it's work. At home, it's home. And there's businesses focus. Being successful in businesses, being able to get more done in less time. When I'm in a meeting, I don't need to bring my computer and my smartphone into the meeting. I can take time and just connect with the people in the meeting, get done what I need to get done in that meeting, and move on. Go to the next thing. And then hopefully the goal is, and it's not easy, is when I walk into the house at night, can I leave work out? Can I walk into the house and say, hello, here I am. How was your day? Not bringing it in and continually texting and emailing all night and those kind of things, which, is not easy not to do in this world.
Well, and I know a lot of couples have, little disagreements about that particular behavior, right? I don't know about you, but I know for a while it was something that my wife would bring up to me, and we would talk, and I always felt like I kind of had to be on, right? Even though I left the office and I'm home, that phone was right next to me, and I had to respond to emails and text messages and occasionally take phone calls, and missing that quote unquote quality time with the family because there was important work that needed to get done. How do you differentiate that, and how do you advise people to be able to separate maybe that work that is important, but how do you separate that from spending time with your family and maybe putting that phone or those distractions away?
Well, it's a trap a lot of times, because some of that technology lets us take that vacation or go to the second home or whatever and stay a little bit plugged in and go. But then when we're there, if we can't detach a little bit, then are we really there with our family? So I think it's a matter of just drawing some boundaries around it. And we all got to take the occasional call or do the email and whatnot. But maybe we say, hey, I got to go do this and go do it and then come back. And when you come back, be there. The other thing is, it's like dating. Everybody doesn't need an immediate response. You're more attractive if you're not immediately available. You don't have to be there 24/7, just like Pavlov. They got to be there and immediate. We train people that, we're going to respond in 2 seconds. And sometimes it's better. I mean, and sometimes things are important we got to have on, but you can put notices on your phone that say, only let my family through, only let my boss through, or something like that. We don't need to let everybody through all the time to get all the notifications and those kind of things. So I think it's drawing some boundaries around it and having some confidence that the office is going to be okay at 6 o'clock at night. I can have dinner with my family and tuck my kids in, and maybe I need to check emails at 8:30 or 9 just to make sure, and do what I do, but be intentional about that and say, okay, I'm going to do it, and go do it and then come back. And what I have found is what people want from us more than anything at work and at home is our attention. You want to have a relationship with your kids, they want your attention. You don't have to have the greatest words of wisdom. You don't have to know everything about everything, but just give them your attention and get interested in what they're interested in. Not our own self-importance, that we're everything. Set that aside, walk in and, how was your day? What's going on? Hey, let's play a game. Given that attention is everything in a relationship.
Eric, we're talking about mindfulness, and some of our listeners may be thinking, hey, this is all a little fluffy, right? Like, I want to hit,
Totally.
let's get into the
Totally.
numbers. You built
Hey,
this
I
big
love
company,
it.
right? You're a CEO, you're grinding,
Yeah,
you're growing.
totally.
What do you say to someone who kind of dismisses this and says,
Yeah,
listen, let's talk about the brass tacks. Let's run through.
yeah,
I'll sleep when I'm dead. Like that kind of that hustle culture mentality. What do you
yeah.
say for that?
Track your calendar for 2 weeks. Keep track of how much time you waste. You got time. I mean, in a mindfulness practice takes a lot less than people think. We usually start people with a couple minutes a day, maybe 10 minutes total of a routine, working up to half an hour, maybe an hour if you're, on that kind of thing. We waste so much time by distracted by that phone dinging and having to be on emails and be in text and social media and meetings that don't get anything done. I say baloney. If you get focused, and the other thing is, if you're a leader, you need to be accessible. You need to be someone that someone feels like they can come in the door and say, hey, I got an issue, or we have an issue. And if we're totally constantly distracted and of this busyness, people won't approach us. And you don't learn what you need to learn, and you're not really leading. Leading is being available for people that they can tell you what's going on, what's either for themselves personally and especially professionally, what's going on. If you're just so busy and distracted, my experience is people won't approach. They'll just go on, and you won't know what's really going on with them, which is first of all, as a human, that's not acceptable, and second of all, as a business person, it's not the most productive, because people have information. You can't know everything. People being able to talk to you is how you learn things. And the reason I know that is that's who I was, just running, just running all the time, and finding out a lot of things too late.
Yeah. You mentioned that, mindfulness can be as easy starting out as just a couple minutes a day.
Totally.
And mindfulness may not be as clear to people. So when you talk about mindfulness, what words do you describe? Are you talking about like meditation, or like what exactly does that
I'm
mean to
I'm
you?
talking number one. I'm talking focus.
Okay.
The ability to fill my mind with what I've chosen to fill it with at the exclusion of all else. Because I can multitask, but I can't multi-focus. I can do a lot of things. My operating system allows me to drive a car and talk on a phone and listen to the radio and, you know, eat a sandwich. But I can't focus on all those things at once. So mindfulness is learning how to focus, how to choose where I place my attention. And it's a tremendously beneficial practice to business, because business is about focus. And so is peace and joy, and so is relationships, which is our personal life. It's all about being able to focus on what I'm doing at the time. It's called being present. It's called being in the now, in the moment, in the zone. It's all those things. But can I focus? And I have found that we've been trained not to focus. Everything's grabbing our attention, from our phones to the media to the government to all the different things, the lights that we have. Everything is all grabbing our focus. And if we don't say enough, I need to focus, I want to choose what I focus on, then I don't think we have a very good chance at really focusing at business and being as successful as we could be, or focusing on our personal side and being, as successful as we can be with that. Just running around distracted all day, working twice as hard, getting half as much done.
Yeah, I think a lot of investors right now are looking to scale their portfolio, and obviously, most of the people I talk to are
Yeah,
looking to invest to have that financial freedom, to have that home life balance, to
totally.
have the different things that they're looking for. But it's tough for a lot of people to find good quality deals in this market. Talk to us about kind of focus and how some of these principles can allow you to be a better investor.
Well, hopefully they give you perspective. I mean, keep your powder dry. I mean, you got to draw the line somewhere. Sometimes there just aren't that good at deals out there right now. And I have found that I'm much better off missing a good deal than investing in a bad one. It takes so long to get out of a bad deal, and takes so much time and energy and capital. So trust yourself, keep your powder dry. I mean, I see opportunities on the horizon. The banking crisis is going to mean opportunities. As a lot of these facilities roll over, people are going to have to move their loans, and a lot of things are going to be tough to do. So I say draw your line, and keep looking. Be open to options, and also, though, don't invest just because you have to. It's better to go without the yield for a year or two and then find something that's good than it is to just keep constantly say, I got to be fully invested. I got to be fully invested at all times. Real estate is a lumpy market. It's hard to get in and out of. So get into the right deals is what
Talk to
I'd
us.
say. Be a lot of patience.
Yeah, talk to us about kind of your portfolio and kind of what you invest in right now.
I'm mostly in a portfolio of retail and office. Primarily, we also have single family residences. I don't, and that's not because for not that intentional. I don't have a multifamily asset. I would love it in our portfolio. To be honest, just where we do and where we live, the yields have just been better in office and retail, and that's my expertise. I also say to people, you can't be an expert at everything, so you're better off going in what you really know. Diversification is great, but being a little more concentrated in areas is good. So we've just had more opportunities in retail right now, and we've been lucky with the service-oriented retail. Now during the pandemic, driving around looking at empty buildings, I was saying, gosh, why did we get in all these service? So we thought it was anti-Amazon, beating the Amazon thing, but man, they were empty. They filled back up again though, and we filled them. I think we've got one, maybe two vacancies across our whole retail
Oh
portfolio
wow.
right now. Really
And,
good.
and what you mean when
And
you say service, you're talking about retail
nails,
centers that
hair,
all provide a service. Yeah, something
you
that you
need
can't buy on
you
Amazon.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And our office product is doing amazing, but it's the 1,000, 2,000 smaller office buildings rather than the big 30, 40, 50, 100, 200,000, square foot things. Because we live in a small community. We're in Loveland, population 70,000, going to 100, but smaller. So we've kept under the radar screen, but the smaller office is really doing well. The big office plates, you hear the horror stories, of what's going on with that. And the other side of that is be patient because there's going to be opportunities in that field. The
Yeah.
lender's going to be pushing people out, and there's going to be a number which makes sense to buy on those if you're willing to go to work. I always believe in getting my hands dirty. It's what I can turn something into. Real estate's either getting better or worse. It's hardly ever static. So I'd rather find a diamond in the rough and say, hey, I can do this. I can knock this out. I can change the demising. I can make these spaces a little smaller or whatever it is and take it up a notch. If I buy something at a premium, which I know a lot of times as a passive investor, you have to, and I've done it myself, been a passive investor, that's different. But if I'm active, if I'm driving it as a developer, I need to see how I can take that asset to the next level. What am I going to add to it that's going to take it to the next level and have it grow rather than just buying something at the top and holding it? That's not my developer role. If I'm a passive investor, that may be what I have to do. But unless I can invest with a developer that's, doing value add.
I heard you say a couple things that I think are really insightful. So, one, when it comes to retail, you're focused on service based retail, hair, nails, things that you can't go to Amazon and buy. And, that's a great way for you to hedge your bets there.
Yep.
When it comes to office, you're focused on smaller office. So, maybe more entrepreneurs, local entrepreneurs, not necessarily these huge big boxes or high rise type buildings, but smaller offices where you have local or entrepreneurs, business owners, and that's kind of your strategy there. And then you're always looking for what we like to call a value add, but you're looking to find ways to create value. You're not buying at the top of the market and paying a premium for an asset. You want to find something where you have a vision that you can create value. And I think those principles are really key when it comes to investing. And it goes back to that focus. It's easy to come across a deal that looks great, numbers look good, and you run out, but you don't necessarily have kind of the framework or the team or the resources or the experience to go out and execute a deal like this. It sounds like you kind of try to stay focused on things that you know or things that you've explored and some guiding principles. Can you talk to us a little bit more about kind of your guiding principles with investing?
Yeah, I try to look at three different things, right? I try to be in a good as much as I can in the environment where the macroeconomic fundamentals are good, which right now higher interest rates, but hopefully declining, good demand on a national basis, those kind of things. And then regional, I want to be in an area that has a growing economic base. Universities are great. Some, companies are great, but where primary jobs, where people are exporting goods and importing dollars of some kind or another. So that area is growing. Has a good economic base. And that grows the damn. And then I try to be on the best corners, on the best traffic things. And usually I look for real estate that's underperforming in a great location. Often it's underperforming because the ownership hasn't invested in it or doesn't really just know what they're doing, hasn't paid attention. Those are the real wins. If I can come across somebody where I think, you know what, that thing is just hasn't had the shine on it. They just haven't been quick. They haven't made the deals they need to make. They haven't been willing to invest in it. Then if you can do that, a lot of times you can invest in that asset, turn it around without making major structural repairs, which are, in this environment, the other thing that's going great with existing product is new product is so expensive to construct. It's bringing the prices of everything up because it's so much. The next unit's costing so much to make. It's bringing up the value of existing product. And
Yeah,
I like that pool,
I
of
think what you
being
said was,
lower cost.
yeah, what you just said was really, really great because I think it's universal. You talked about you're looking for real estate that is underperforming, but in a great location.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's self storage, if it's
No, to me
multifamily
it doesn't.
apartments, office, retail. That's a fundamental real estate investing strategy, right? Look for assets that are underperforming, but in a great, desirable location. You talked about finding the best corners, growing markets, strong industries, good economic foundation. These are really great insights and keys for you, for any investor, really, no matter what your asset class is. Now, certainly, if you're doing office versus multifamily, there's some nuances that you got to pay attention to. But at a high level, I think these are really good principles to pay attention to whenever you're investing. Eric, you have been able to grow kind of your own portfolio, and you've been an educator and teaching at the university and helping so many other people. Recently, you released your first your book. I don't know if it's your first book or
Yeah.
not. I don't know. I'm
Yes, it
assuming it's your
is.
first book. Okay.
It is.
Maybe I read that and I don't know. I was like, wait a minute,
Yep.
did I read first book? Anyway, you released your first book, Profit with Presence, the 12 Pillars of Mindful Leadership. Talk to us a little bit more about this book and why you decided to create it.
I decided to create it because number one, I've just seen what it's done for my own life and what I've seen it done for others that I've worked with, either through our company or through our mindful leadership program. We're on a 9-month mindful leadership program. And that often mindfulness is seen to be at odds with profit. I got to make money so then I can have time to someday be mindful, which is someday I'll have peace, joy, and happiness. And my experience is that someday doesn't come unless we create it. And that if we can create that now, if we can be happy and have the feeling of happiness, success, and satisfaction now, that we'll take actions to be even more successful and we'll be the ones to get the calls. People would rather call somebody that's happy and feels, satisfied and successful rather than somebody that's always just grinding and never quite, my experience is like with travel, we start on the bus and then we say, oh God, I'm on a plane. Great. And then we want to fly first. Great. Then we want to fly private. Great. And then we get a little more successful. We say, I think I could go with Musk to the moon. Let's do it. That we always keep moving the goalposts. It's never enough unless we set out ourselves and say, listen, I'm going to be happy first. Then if I get to go to the moon, great. But I'm not going to find happiness on the moon. If I can't find it here on Earth, I'm not going to find it there either. And we're the most successful, the professionals in America, the most successful, most affluent people in the world. If we can't be happy, what chance does the rest of the world have? I think it's our job to find a way to be happy. How dare we not be happy with, we have everything. So I say that doesn't mean I'm going to stop working. I love to work. I love the people I work with and I love to work. I can be happy in work. I don't have to be unhappy and grinding and miserable to be successful. I've been there and I've done it. And I'm saying you can be monetarily successful that way, but it's hard to have peace and joy and happiness if that's how you've gotten there. It's hard to turn it off at that time and say, okay, now I'm going to be happy and be pleasant and be that someone my family wants around. It's hard to do that, and flip a switch at some point in your life or at some point in your day. I'm saying bring it into your whole day. Doesn't mean you don't want to make money. I think you can have it all. and be a decent person to be around and make the community a little better place.
Yeah, I think what's really great is I wrote down when you said mindfulness, it's almost like instead of using the word mindfulness, what you're really talking about is finding peace, joy, happiness, and success.
Totally.
That's really what you're talking about. Mindfulness is just the pathway to that. And it's
Totally.
interesting as you talk about business professionals and entrepreneurs, because a lot of times there's this goal. Okay, once I hit this, I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna be happy. I'll be able to vacation where I'll spend more time with the
Totally.
family. Life will be there. I will be successful. And what ends up happening is you get that, and then the goalpost moves, just like you said, right? It goes from being happy to get on a plane to, okay, now I want to fly first class, to now I got to get my own private jet. And that goalpost just keeps moving. And I think the best, like, understandable example of this is how people set goals about promotions and raises. And I remember I have this workbook from when I first started as a professional, right? My first full-time job out of college, and I wrote down my salary. I remember my current wife, when she was my girlfriend, we kind of wrote down and kind of did our financial goals, and we wrote down what we made, what we wanted to spend on travel, and all that kind of stuff. Listen, if we made that today, I would probably be, in my mind, I'd probably be living in a cardboard box, right? But it
Totally.
was it was
Exactly.
enough. It was enough then, right? It was plenty. I mean, we had cash, we took vacations, we drove. It was fun, but that wouldn't be sufficient today. And that lifestyle creep is real for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I bring that up just to say that, to your point, the happiness, the success, the joy, the peace, it can't come from a salary or revenue or promotion and a title. You have to just choose it. You got to choose to be happy. And then that will actually allow you to enjoy the other things and give you more focus to see success in your life. And if you have any triggers or mechanisms, you may want to look back at your life, because I'm sure there was a point where
Yeah.
you said, hey man, once I get promoted to this, life's going to be good. And then you got that promotion, and did your life really change? For folks who want to be a millionaire, maybe you're on that path to being a millionaire and having $1 million net worth. I don't want to bust your bubble, but once you get there, there's not going to be a parade. No one's coming through and celebrating, and it's not like you get to quit and everything's over. It
Your
doesn't happen.
problems just change. You just have
They just
different
change.
problems.
They just
Yeah.
change. Now, when you get to 10 million, and it just keeps going on. So I think a lot of times, people are waiting to enjoy life. And what you talk
Exactly.
about is
That's exactly the
living in the
point.
gap is about enjoying where you're at today. Continue to grow and prosper, but enjoying where you're at today. And you can't delay this, because you'll never get to that point. And you don't want to wake up 70, 80, 90 years old realizing you did all this to get to retirement or get to this other side of life, and now you really don't have the ability to enjoy it the way maybe you thought you would in your head.
That's why I wrote the book.
Listen, that book's
That's
available now, right? Where can people
yeah.
get that?
Yeah. Amazon. It's available. It's a Wall Street Journal bestseller. It's available on Amazon, or you can order it on our website too,
All right.
livinginthegap.org.
Profit with Presence on your
Yeah.
website. Livinginthegap.org is the website. Make sure you check that out. You mentioned that you have your mindful leadership program as well.
Yeah.
Can people find more information on that on the website?
Yes, there is a 9 month program. We run shorter programs usually in the spring, 8 weeks, but they're more in person. And this is a 9 month program. It's in person in Colorado 9 days and 3 different times, and then the rest of it's in Zoom. So you can attend from anywhere in the country, but you do have to make a few trips into Colorado. And it's a program where you actually dive into this work and change your habits. You find your purpose in life. You create a new vision, and we help you launch it. And all with daily habits that let you leave the house in the morning with a mindset that says, I'm happy now, I'm making a difference today. And I don't know what's going to come out that door, but I'm going to deal with it positively. I'm going to turn it. I'm going to make the best out of it. And I'm going to make the best out of my life. I'm going to enhance my relationships, all of them. I'm going to be someone worth knowing,
Eric,
is what I think.
what's one like actionable and practical step someone can do kind of now to
Yeah.
start kind of rewiring their brain to live in the gap, to live in the moment, and to be more mindful?
I think the lowest hanging fruit, if someone's not already doing, is practicing gratitude. Just think in your morning, think of 3 things you're grateful for and why. It's an immediate mindset shift. Your mind is wired to start looking for what you feed it. If you feed it anger, it looks for things to be angry about. If you feed it with gratitude, your mind starts looking for other things to be grateful for. Some people say don't repeat. I repeat. I'm grateful for my family every day, and then when my family comes to me, my mindset is more of gratitude than irritation. And the family's your toughest gig with that too. I mean, they know your triggers.
Yeah, I love it, man.
my
I love
my
it.
son said to me the other day, my youngest boy, he's 25, he's a game developer, and he said, Dad, I think you're better at this with other people than you are with your family. And I said, bingo. I think you're right. Your family's, they're the most important to you, and it's the richest pool to work on,
Yeah.
and it's the most difficult because they know all your triggers. So
Yeah, I love it, man. Well, listen, we'll make sure we link to your website, livingинthegap.com. And I love that. Very
living
actionable,
or
practical.
.org.
.org, sorry,
.org. It's
.org,
a it's a
.org.
501c3. Yeah.
There you go,
Great.
.org. We'll make sure we link to that in our show notes as well. Right
Great.
now, we're going to move on to our round of insights. Give me a failure or an apparent failure that set you up for later success.
Gosh, I can tell you we lost $500,000 trying to redevelop an old sugar factory in Loveland. It was an urban renewal project. It was small, and it was just before the Great Recession, 08, 09. And I'd say God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers, because if we'd gotten that, we would have gone in the recession. The bonds wouldn't have been good. And we probably, that project would have been a disaster. The other thing is we learned through urban renewal how to get tax increment financing. We took that 4 years later and developed a major shopping center in Fort Collins and got a big urban renewal subsidy on it. So we took that loss, which was probably the right thing, because the project wouldn't have been successful. We reloaded and took that knowledge into another market and hit a home run with the project.
Give me a digital or mobile resource you recommend for your business.
Oh gosh. That's probably an area of weakness for me. So digital, all I tell you is I read the Wall Street Journal every day. I'm all mold. I love
Do you use any
Wall
apps
Street Journal
like that
is
for
my
mindfulness? Or even yoga or
I
meditation?
tell you, the ones that are most popular, Calm, Insight Timer, are great. But what I try to do is tell people the apps are fine to get yourself started, but treat them like training wheels. Eventually, because what we want to happen is the stimulus response is we want mindfulness to come at us organically during the day when we're upset, when we're stressed. When we just want to be in a mindful state. That time in the morning is training us, so when it comes up later in the day, all of a sudden we just notice ourselves breathing rather than yelling. We just go, we can respond. So an app is great to get started. I'm not a tech guy. I'm just not. So I don't use them regularly, but I have a lot of people that do. And I just tell them, okay, use the app and then either do 2 minutes before or after it to get yourself started, so that you're also training yourself just to be without that assistance. Because when life hits you in the face, I want to respond, not react. I want to just take it and respond. So that's not maybe the answer you were looking for, but that's the one I got.
No, I think that's great. I appreciate the context there. All right, besides your own, give me the book you've recommended or gifted the most in the last year.
The Go-Giver by Bob Berg, and there's a second author I can't think. It just talks about how, the little things that your life you have to give to receive. And I believe abundance goes to givers. Don't be afraid to give your time and your money, because abundance means there's all kinds of it out there. You'll get more back. So far, we're so tied up to, more stingy and those kind of things. I give that up. Don't be afraid to give your time to somebody, give your money to somebody. There's all kinds of, that just changes your whole mindset. And there's a bigger game to play than to worry about those small things.
What's a daily habit that helps you stay focused on your goals?
For me personally, is meditation is number one. It just lets me clear out my mind and focus and learn to focus on what is important to me, and also detach from those other things so that I can be present with people that I'm with. I don't think it has to be meditation for everybody. A mindful walk, there's other things, and everybody's not going to meditate. And if it's just not for you, don't worry about it. If you do want to try it, start small, 2 minutes. Trying to do 10, 15 minutes when you start is counterproductive because our minds are so busy. It just makes, I can't tell you how many people have said, I just can't meditate. Well, you could for a couple minutes. It's like when you start eating vegetables, you start with a bite, one pea. You don't start with a whole plate of peas, You get in small, just start small and be consistent. And if it just isn't for you, just have an intention and find something else that is. Maybe it's knitting, maybe it's walking. I don't know. Something small where you can really focus and train your mind to focus.
Love that. All right, let's lighten the mood a little bit. Normally we would ask our number one insight, and I was going to ask on mindfulness, but I feel like you've hit that a couple times, so we kind of have that answer. But I want to lighten the mood. You are in Loveland, Colorado. Tell me your favorite place to grab a bite to eat.
Boys, I would say there's an Indian restaurant. It's called Durbar here that we love to eat at. A lot of times it's takeout anymore. We kind of got in that habit around COVID, but we love different cuisine like that. Indian, there's also a Mexican restaurant we like, but Durbar, Indian restaurant.
I love it. All right, we'll make sure to put that one in the show notes. Dr. Eric, I appreciate your time in the conversation today. I love the fact that you talked about mindfulness, and it's not so much this just clear headspace thing, but it's about focus, and it's about focus to help you be happy, to feel peace, joy, success, all these things. And we need to have the ability to be calm, to focus, and to be able to react with the appropriate energy in any given moment or situation. And that mindfulness allows us to do that. For folks who want to get your book, it's Profit with Presence, the 12 Pillars of Mindful Leadership. And that is available on your website, livinginthegap.org. So we'll make sure we link to that in our show notes. Awesome. Eric, I just want to thank you again for being a great guest and coming on the show today. We look forward to staying in touch with you. We hope you have a great day.
Thanks for having me on.